The air in Realville had that distinct November bite, sharp enough to sting, not cold enough to justify it. My boots hit the front steps with a thud that echoed off the silence. No smells of cinnamon or sage, no rustle of conversation through the windows. Just one dim porch light, blinking like it forgot it had a job. Grandma Eleanor opened the door slower than I expected. She wore a robe that looked older than me, threadbare at the collar, and cradled a paper plate with something microwaved in beige on it. "They left early this morning," she said. No hug, just that. Inside the living room looked paused. Blinds shut, dust curling on the mantel. The kind of stillness that says no one's been home for a while. I set down my bag, the only sound a distant tick from the grandfather clock. I took a step toward the kitchen, but paused when I noticed no garlands, no place settings, not even that ridiculous turkey centerpiece Mom insisted on every year. Just Eleanor quietly chewing cold meatloaf at the edge of the table. A wilted sprig of parsley, the only hint of occasion. "No turkey?" I asked. "They didn't want a big fuss this year," she murmured, cutting her food in even squares like always. The fridge hummed behind me, its shelves empty except for a half-eaten cranberry sauce and a bottle of expired creamer. There were no notes on the counter, no grocery list, no casserole dishes waiting to be reheated. I pulled out my phone. One message. From Marin. "We took a trip to Vermont. Use the money you sent last month for groceries. Enjoy time with Grandma." That was it. No happy Thanksgiving. No sorry we missed you. Just instructions. Like a house sitter. I stood in the hallway where the light flickered above. The paint was chipping. Everything smelled like dry heat and resignation. "You didn't even say goodbye," I whispered. "You just left." I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I felt like I was being erased in real time. Have you ever walked into your own home and felt like a stranger? I walked upstairs. My old room door was cracked open. Inside, Delaney's suitcases lined up like she'd just arrived. My photos were gone. The wall where my vision board used to be was blank except for a faint tack hole. A note on the dresser. "Using your room for the holiday. Thanks. Delaware." I opened the closet. Empty. My childhood journals. Gone. The drawer where I kept letters from Dad. Locked. "They moved things around," Grandma said behind me. "You can take the guest room." Her voice wasn't apologetic, just tired. Like someone who'd run out of excuses years ago. Later that night, I sat on the living room floor with my laptop. The screen glowed cold against my lap as I typed in my banking info. One transaction stood out. Briar Hill Resort, Vermont. $1,000. The exact amount I'd sent for house repairs last month. My chest tightened. That wasn't oversight. That was intent. I turned to Eleanor, who was knitting something loose and shapeless by the lamp. "Did you know?" I asked. "They've been planning this a while," she said without looking up. "Your mother said it would be good for everyone. Everyone but me." I stared at the screen. I wasn't invited. I was used. Eleanor hesitated, then got up slowly and walked to the cabinet. She pulled out her pill organizer. Only Tuesday's slot was full. And it was Thursday. "I thought Marin filled them," she said. "I ran out 2 days ago." On the coffee table, I noticed a yellowed sheet of paper, creased and smudged. It was a letter unfinished. "If one day you return, and it's only me, remember, I waited." Beside the trash bin in the kitchen, a crumpled receipt lay on top. "Room service, Briar Hill Resort. Dated yesterday. So much for a spontaneous trip." I stood there, absorbing the weight of each silent decision made in my absence. Each lie that didn't need to be spoken because I wasn't supposed to see the truth anyway. I began packing up the scattered fragments of who I used to be in this house. And I did it quietly, not because I wasn't angry, but because I had never been more certain of what came next. The morning light slanted across the old wallpaper, highlighting every wrinkle in its surface, like it was telling the story of this house better than any photo album ever could. I didn't sleep much. My thoughts came in short, sharp bursts, like thunder without rain. I sat at the kitchen table, legal pad in front of me, pen moving like it had a purpose. Utilities, grocery expenses, money I had sent, things I remembered being asked for. Now I wasn't just visiting. I was auditing a life I thought I'd never have to question. Grandma sipped her weak tea across from me. She wasn't looking at the numbers, just watching me like she was trying to read something behind my face. "They're not just careless," I finally said. "They're strategic." She nodded slow. "I signed something years back. Thought it was about taxes. Maybe something to do with insurance." I stopped writing. "What did you sign, Eleanor?" She disappeared into the living room and came back with a weathered accordion folder. The kind you buy when you think you're going to organize your life but never really do. Inside was a document with Marin's signature in bold print. Co-ownership. Property access. Legalese wrapped around betrayal. "They said it was to protect me," Eleanor said. "If anything happened." I held the paper like it might burn me. It protected them. She didn't argue. In the hallway, I found another envelope, red stamped. Property access, emergency, use only. The seal was cracked. The paper inside only half filled, some lines blank. A notary stamp, but no final witness. Delaney's name was scribbled in under co-beneficiary. "They told me it would make things easier for the family," Grandma whispered. "They made it easier to take from you," I replied. Downstairs, I checked the bank notifications that still fed into the shared email account I used years ago. Payment alerts. One caught my eye. Caregiver stipend, Delaney Hartman. I clicked. It was monthly. Substantial. From a joint account I hadn't touched in months, but apparently still contributed to. "She hasn't stayed here in over 6 months," Eleanor admitted when I asked. "Not even for a night." I leaned back in my chair. A picture formed. Neat. Pre-constructed. One daughter caring for Grandma. The other absent, financial ghost. "They've been preparing this story," I muttered. One where I never existed. The sun had just begun to set when I saw headlights in the driveway. I peered through the blinds. Marin. And Callum, arms crossed, face tight. I walked to the front door, turned the deadbolt. They knocked, gentle at first. Marin's voice sugar-coated. "Isolde? We just wanted to check in." I didn't move. "Not without a legal explanation," I said firm. Silence. Then footsteps retreating. Through the window, I saw Marin mutter something to Callum. His expression didn't change. She spat the words like venom. Ungrateful little thing. I didn't open the door. Didn't watch them leave. Later, my phone buzzed. No name. Just a number and a message. "This won't end well if you keep pushing." I stared at it, screenshot it, saved it to a folder I'd named, just in case. There was a knock, not at the front this time, but the side. May Whitford. Late 60s, wore orthopedic sneakers, and always brought cookies to church potlucks. "They came by last week," she said. "Asked if you'd been around. Your name came up a lot." I thanked her. She didn't stay long. After she left, I turned to Eleanor. "Did Delaney take photos of your meds?" "Recently." She hesitated, then nodded, said it was for a refill record. I installed the cameras that night. One in the living room, one in the hallway near the front door, one pointing at the driveway. Before bed, I double-checked the locks, then pulled a baseball bat from the closet, set it beside me, and kept one eye open until morning. By the third night, something in the air felt different, heavier, like the house itself was bracing. I could feel it in the way Eleanor sat, shoulders tight, hands clasped. I could feel it in the way the wind kept pressing against the windows, pushing for an answer I wasn't ready to give. I heard the car doors before I heard the voices. Not a polite knock this time. A demand. I looked at the monitor first, 3 figures circling the porch like they owned the wood it was built from. Marin in her heavy coat, collar pulled up, face sharp in the porch light. Delaney pacing, arms flailing with the same theatrical confidence she'd always had. Callum a few feet away, standing stiff near the steps, silent, gazed down. When the banging started, the walls trembled. "Open the door, sold!" Marin shouted, "We need to talk." Talk. I almost laughed. Eleanor tensed beside me. Her hand drifted toward the small pillbox on the coffee table, knuckles whitening. "It's all right," I murmured. "Just breathe. I'm here." The pounding grew louder, fists, then flat palms, then something like a boot. Delaney's voice cracked through the wood. "If you don't open this door, we're calling the police." "That's funny," I said quietly. "I already called someone." I grabbed my phone, opened the security camera feed, forwarded the footage to my lawyer's emergency line. The clips were clear, yelling, threats, circling the house like a pack smelling blood. "Record everything," I whispered to myself. Everything. Viewers often tell me the hardest part of family conflict isn't the betrayal. It's the moment you finally stop pretending it didn't happen. Maybe that's true. Maybe this was that moment. "Would you open the door?" I murmured under my breath. If the people screaming outside were your own family, the answer for me was easy. No. The flashing lights came 10 minutes later. My chest didn't tighten. My hands didn't shake. I'd expected it. False accusations always arrive dressed as righteousness. Sheriff Nolan Reese stepped out first. He walked up the porch steps with the slow, deliberate patience of a man who'd seen every kind of family disaster imaginable. He knocked. Not a threat, just a request. "Isolde? It's Sheriff Reese. Need a quick word." I unlocked the door halfway, keeping the chain on. "I have documentation." He nodded. I figured. Behind him, Marin and Delaney stood in a clump. Delaney had her arms folded tight. Marin's eyes were wide, rehearsed, like she was about to cry on cue. "She's keeping our mother locked in the house." Marin cried, "We reported elder abuse. You have to intervene." I unhooked the chain. Not for them. For Reese. "Come in," I said, stepping back. "I want this documented properly." He entered with a hand on his belt, but no suspicion in his eyes. I handed him the folder instantly. Medical logs, medication records, financial statements, camera snapshots, time-stamped. Then I gave him the SD card. "This shows the harassment for the past 2 days," I said, "and her consent to live with me." Eleanor shuffled forward on her walker. Her hair was combed neatly. She'd put on her good sweater, pearl buttons and all. Her voice didn't waver. "I'm here by choice," she said, "and I'm perfectly lucid. My daughter is lying." Reese flipped the folder open. "This matches the wellness check from 2 months ago." He didn't look up when he added quietly, "Everything checks out." He turned to Marin. "You file one more false claim," he said, "and we escalate it." That shut down the theatrics faster than any shouting match ever could. For a second, the world held its breath. Even the leaves outside seemed to pause. The family retreated to the porch in stunned silence. But it wasn't over. It never ends with the first retreat. It ends with the last. Just after midnight, long after Reese's cruiser had disappeared, I heard the metallic clatter of the back gate latch. I took a deep breath, grabbed the flashlight, and stepped outside. "You're on camera," I said, voice steady. Again. Delaney spun toward me, eyes sharp with something between rage and desperation. "You don't deserve this house," she screamed. "You barely come home. You don't know what you're doing." Marin was behind her, pointing a shaking finger. "You are tearing this family apart. We could lose everything because of you." Callum stayed on the path, hands in pockets, eyes fixed on the frozen grass. Eleanor whispered from behind me, voice fragile but clear. "They can't let go because they've built nothing of their own." She was right. And the truth always hurts the loudest people the most. They've mistaken kindness for surrender, I said. That ends tonight. Headlights approached. A dark sedan, slow, controlled, pulling into the driveway like it belonged there. Aiden Crow stepped out, hair windblown, tie loosened. My emergency alert went off, he said. Thought I'd drop by. He didn't bother greeting my family. He handed Marin a thick envelope. Cease and desist, he said. A restraining order is being filed as we speak. Delaney snatched the papers from him. You can't do this. Oh, I didn't do it, Crow replied. You did. When you forged signatures. When you moved money. When you created fictitious caregiving claims. He tapped the folder. There's a digital trail. Your bank loves keeping receipts. Marin's voice cracked. She tricked us all. Crow stared at her, unblinking. You tricked yourselves. I said nothing. I turned, walked back inside, and closed the door. The click of the deadbolt felt like closing the last chapter of a long, painful book. Inside, Eleanor and I cleaned quietly. Picking up the wreath knocked off its hook, straightening the rug, returning fallen picture frames to the table. May Whitford left a voicemail while we worked. You did what we all wish we could do, she said. You didn't let them break you. Eleanor poured tea for us both. There's a cost to standing up, I said softly, but losing yourself, that costs even more. Before bed, I stepped onto the porch to turn off the light. That's when I saw it, a black car pulling into the driveway. Again,